Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. I drop my face below her waist and stay on third base. I can tell the cherry's ripe by the way it tastes. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigdon. Throw a bit of Bloodhound Gang in there, was it?
Yep, that's some old school Bloodhound Gang references there.
Yeah, I didn't have a rap quote, so
I filled in.
Yeah. Welcome along to episode 15.
15, it's the one.
Of the Guy and Harley podcast. We are filmmakers. We are entertainers. We are podcasters. This film chronicles our journey through life, and we talk about filmmaking.
This podcast chronicles our journey through life, and we talk about filmmaking.
What did I say?
Film.
Oh.
They get the gist of it.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening. Now, word on the street has it that your mum is an avid listener.
Well, she listened to one.
Well, that's pretty avid. 1 out of 15, that's not bad, Zena.
I had dinner with her the other night.
Hot date?
She was.
There's a guy. Tinder's going well.
So I had dinner with my mum. She was up. She actually lives in Dunedin and I live in Auckland, so she was up. And we had dinner and we had a chat. And basically she said that she listened to the podcast the first time. She'd been meaning to do it for a while, but hadn't got around to it.
Yep.
Her review.
Okay, well, I was just going to say that it's good that she listened to last week's episode, because I actually think the episode 14 was a good one.
It was a strong one. It was definitely a strong ep. I listened to it at the gym, re-listened back, and had some laughs, had some chuckles to myself.
Yep.
There was a lot of good stuff in there. However, this was her review.
Okay.
It was very long. Not like good is funny, I had some chuckles.
Yeah.
Just it was long. That's classic mum. That's classic mum of her to say that.
It was our longest podcast, to be fair.
That's what I said. I said, like, mum, normally it's like 10 minutes shorter than that. But anyway, then I started thinking about the fact that she listened to the podcast, and and then I re-listened to the podcast,
thinking what your mum must have been thinking, listening to the stuff about you on Tinder.
Yeah, just to recap some of the things that we said on the last podcast. My Tinder files, my Tinder adventures.
Yep.
There was that. There was also in-depth analysis of the Paris Hilton video.
The cum shot.
You talked about her cum shot and how you would shoot better coverage of her if you were doing a porn with Paris Hilton.
And how she looked like a hungry owl in night vision. And
I also joked that I ejaculated to Han Solo and Chewie in the new Star Wars trailer.
Yeah.
We also joked that my dad would come to a fight with a pen and paper.
He's not talking to you anymore.
Implying that he's more of a well-read gentleman than a fighter. But so, looking back on it, I was like, not actually great for mums to hear all this stuff, really.
Yeah.
And it's actually, brings up a sort of, this world. I'm going to be haunted by ghosts of podcasts past, where people go, well, hang on a fucking second, I just heard you talking about this shit on the podcast. Like, what are what's going on here? Or, just like bringing things up that I joked about on the podcast.
Yeah, well, your kids are going to be able to look through, listen through these and use them as ammo against you.
That's only if we maintain the Libsyn account, Harley.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But we will, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's only if we're not living in a post-apocalyptic Mad Max Fury Road world, Harley, where
Well,
the internet is gone.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a possibility, isn't it? That's definitely a possibility.
So we don't have to worry too long.
And you and I, we will not be Mad Max. We will be the guy whose girlfriend is getting raped by the bandits at the.
Or we'll be getting raped by the bandits as well. Like, let's not rule us out right now.
Well, that's true. If this was Waterworld, I'd be that guy that lives down amongst the oil. You know that
I can't even remember Waterworld.
It's a great film, man. It's a great film. Give that another watch. Yeah, well, there's a guy who lives in the bowels of a tanker, of an oil tanker, and his job is to like measure the depth of the oil. But he's obviously like a prisoner who just lives down there on this little boat floating around in the oil. And when he gets blown up, just before he dies, just before the explosion hits him, he goes, "Oh, thank God." That'll be us.
So that'll be us. But yeah, so it is kind of one of those things where you're like, well, yeah, who is listening to this? Because if the whole family are getting on the train, you know, that's not so good for me.
Well, you know, my girlfriend's family has just added me on Facebook, a bunch of them as well, her auntie and her dad, and I share this on Facebook.
Yeah, great topic, actually, because my grandma has just added me on Facebook. Now, and I think this is very important to establish, is like my grandma, she's 81.
Yeah.
Angie's dad is not a young man.
So he must be 60-something, I guess.
Now, thankfully, English is his second language.
Yeah.
So he's not really going to understand most of.
Well, he's probably not going to care. He's not going to.
He's not even going to click on it. Yeah,
maybe. Although maybe you would do some research, wouldn't you? If it was your daughter's boyfriend, 3-year boyfriend.
Let's hope he doesn't hear about that Paris Hilton shenanigans.
Well, you know, he's on board. he agrees.
He agrees. It could have been shot better.
Yeah.
He sent you a message. He was like, yes, Harley.
The cinematography wasn't great.
My grandma's 81. She's sort of been tagging herself in bits because she doesn't. I don't think she really quite understands Facebook yet.
Yeah.
But what she's loving about it, I think, is that she's getting all this intel on all these people that she's really interested in.
Yeah.
But she also said herself, she was like, because she never sort of initiated the Facebook thing because she was like, one, I don't really know how Facebook works, but two, I'm not sure that my sons, want me snooping on their Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's
very thoughtful.
Yeah, that is very thoughtful. And, this is the problem is like, my Facebook posts consist of, filmmaking promotion and self-deprecating humor, basically.
Yeah.
Jokes about being sad and alone and masturbating and, just being a pathetic person, basically.
Yeah.
And I 100% know that if my grandma is like sort of seeing all this stuff, she is going to think less of me. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I can't change my Facebook attitude now. I can't do it.
Yeah.
What's the answer here?
Well, the answer is you've just got to. I mean, you could block her from particular posts.
Yeah, but you'll just forget as well.
It's a bit of a fuck around too. And also, I suspect that the way Facebook works is less people see it because if you create, if you say public except for this one particular person. It also gives you the option to say friends of friends as a list of people that can see it. So it almost seems like when you restrict one person, you actually also restrict a whole bunch of other lists and stuff that you have to manually go through and select, who's going to see it kind of thing. I think less people see it. But yeah, I mean, I've got an example here of one of my recent Facebook posts. This is a perfect
example of the type of thing you don't want your grandma.
Well, this is a perfect example of the type of thing I don't want my girlfriend's dad reading.
Okay. Well, here we go.
So I tagged Vaseline in this.
Yeah.
So, see where this is going? Dear Vaseline, I'm a long-time user of your product, principally for inserting things into my anus, although I do sometimes get dry lips too. I like to consider myself a conscientious masturbator, so you can imagine my horror when I read that you still test your products on animals. This is unacceptable. I, for one, will be boycotting your product just as soon as I finish my last 1 litre tub. Yours sincerely, Harley Neville.
Now, obviously, this has got. I mean, this is actually an important post.
It is. I'm raising awareness.
Exactly. You're making people aware of this thing that's going on that's wrong with Vaseline doing wrong. You've done it in a funny way.
Yeah.
You've broken it down in a way that is such that makes you look like a sad, pathetic person that puts Vaseline in his butt 24/7. Right? Now, because that's funny. Because people don't want the conscientious part without the funny part.
Yeah.
They switch off. So that is very clever. But that is absolutely not something that you want.
Your girlfriend's dad
reading. And I think that's the thing is like, your girlfriend's dad, my grandma, realistically speaking, they probably have like 50 friends on Facebook, which means that they see everything you post, like including this podcast. And if you're listening, Grandma...
I didn't really think about that. That didn't really occur to me until right now.
Oh, God, I made some horrible mistakes.
Oh, shit.
Oh, boy.
His newsfeed is just full of me.
Yes.
I just realized it's literally just
all
packed
you.
full of me. Jesus.
So, if you listen to Grandma, please don't think less of us. We are just doing our best to be funny and entertaining. And
Entailing.
And sometimes that means that we will make some jokes. Off-color jokes.
Yeah.
In poor taste. But I think it is a real problem. It's the family relations on Facebook problem. We're all dealing with it as best we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Facebook needs to work on its filtering, I think. I think that Facebook needs to make it...
You should have a family option.
Well, and not just that, but you should be able to make it that people... I think they might have this, I'm not sure, that people can only see... very select things if you want, like individuals. So I could set it so that when you look at my page, you just see like a very basic outline of my profile with like basically none of my posts.
Without all the masturbating flourishes.
Yeah. I should be able to put in keywords that they can't see. Masturbation, Vaseline, and so on.
Yeah. So that's definitely an issue that we will be now dealing with from now on.
Well, the thing is, I know my decision.
Well, which is just to boldly go on.
Yeah, like I'm not going to censor myself. I am who I am. This is what I do, and I get a lot of pleasure from my posting things such as this. I think it's funny and interesting, and I like to do it. And I'm not going to take that fun out of my life. I'm going to just hope that people are on board and they get the joke.
Well, that's all Facebook. I don't really like Facebook. So all Facebook gives me is that slight pleasure of 4 likes on my stupid joke.
Yeah.
That's really...
One of which comes from me.
Which, that's all I have. So, I can't diminish now and take that out, or really there'd just be no point being on there.
Yeah.
So we will have to go on. I did also just want to talk a little bit about non-investigative journalism and misquotes. Mm-hmm. Just because we've had the old zombie holocaust, we've been doing the sort of the press rounds for it, trying to get the film out there and promote it and stuff.
Because our film I Survived a Zombie Holocaust is coming out on May 22nd.
Available on DVD in cinemas and on demand.
Yes.
Select cinemas.
And this has been
very select cinemas.
This release is the culmination of 5 years worth of work.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal to us. And so now we're doing the press circuit and trying to get as much publicity as possible.
And so, what you have is, places featuring little articles and blurbs. But it's just so alarming how wrong they get it, or how badly they butcher the information that you provide them.
Yeah.
And the thing that there's a couple of things that bother me about it. One is that it seems like kind of bloggers and stuff, who you wouldn't necessarily, they're the new press, right? But in terms of the old press, it's the old press that get it more wrong, it seems. The newspaper articles and those little bits and pieces seem to get it so much further wrong. The people that are paid, you got bloggers who are just genuine fans, or you got people, they only get, they make maybe a little bit of money off their ads and stuff like that, but it's not, they have to have another job. And then you've got these full-time journalists who went to fucking media school or whatever the hell it is you do to become a journalist. Like this is literally what they're taught. You know, they grow up watching what's that? All the President's Men. You know, finding out about all this stuff and going, this is me, this is what I'm going to do. And then next minute, I Survived a Zombie Apocalypse starring Harvey Neville.
Yeah, I've been called Harvey Neville so many fucking times. If you Google Harvey Neville, he's got more credits than I do.
Harvey Neville's IMDb is better than yours.
Yeah.
And I just think it's just so, but it's especially bad in this age of so easily being able to correct yourself. Like, we just had an article that said, basically announced, like, you know, the film was being released, and then it had, like, featuring, you know, these lead actors. None of the leads were mentioned. Yeah. And not only none of the leads were mentioned, but they got one of the people that they mentioned's name wrong. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, what? Like, all you had to do was just go, hey, okay, we're doing this article, right? Let's just do a little Google, make sure we got all the names right. Or let's just go back to the information that we were given for this media release and just have a little squiz, just see if all the what is it, I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
I remember one particular news outlet, which I'm not going to say the name of because I'm probably hoping to get more stories with them. But
because you're pitching them a story right now.
Because I'm literally pitching them a story. But this one particular news outlet is notoriously bad, and I remember they called Mike Edward, who is the actor, one of the main actors in I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. They called him Mike Andrews.
Which is a cross. Well, it's a cross between Mike Edward
and Andrew Lang, who's a totally different actor.
A different actor also in the film.
But I don't even think they interviewed Andrew Lang. I think they just made up. They were like, "What's his name?" They were like, "Oh, he's one of those people that has two first names. You know, he has a first name for his last name. So what was it? Was it Ed? No, I think it was Andrew.
Let's just guess.
Mike
feel like,
Andrew.
But there was maybe an S on the end.
Yeah. Mike Andrews, and so they misquoted that. They also called him like the lead actor, which wasn't true. That was me. They didn't even talk to me.
This is going to be an ongoing problem for you.
Yeah. Well, because you look at the casting crew and you see Mike Edward and Rhiannon Johanning, and you say, well, obviously those are the leads because they're the beautiful movie star people. They look like the leads.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
It's actually these other normal-looking people.
No
Although
offense,
I was going to say, I wouldn't say Joss is normal-looking. She is pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
just normal-looking.
Yeah. It's just you.
I'm highly offended. I'm actually very hurt.
These average, shitty-looking people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the whole idea, to cast people, to cast an ugly...
Real people.
Normal-looking person.
Like short, bald people.
So, yeah, that is kind of a thing. And also, I guess, credits-wise, too, you know, they've been in a couple more things. At the stage. Mm-hmm. At the stage.
For now.
And so people's first instincts is to go, oh, well, it must be these people. But all you have to do is ask, man. Ask and you shall receive, journalists.
Yeah.
Like, literally just go, hey, just need to clarify a couple of things. I'm doing a piece. Just need to clarify a couple of things.
Yeah.
Little one-sentence emailed, one-sentence reply. Thank you. I don't look like a doofus when I write this.
Well, I think it is... Precisely the problem is that, you know, these new media sort of bloggers and stuff, you know, they're fresh, they're up and coming, they're new, and they're, you know, they've grown up on the internet.
Yeah.
Whereas
they've grown up being able to Google search things.
Yeah. Whereas, you know, a lot of the actual journalists that have the power to get stories printed, you know, they're the old school journalists still, you know, like they haven't reached retirement yet. And so they've got this power, but they're a bit old school.
Well, just a little side note to that. And again, we won't say which newspaper it was, but there was a newspaper that refused to write a link to a web page for the zombie film because they don't believe in promoting the internet.
Yeah.
Because it takes away from their newspaper.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Just like let that digest in your head for a little minute.
They didn't want any cross-promotion between internet and physical print. They didn't want it. They were like, no. We're ignoring the internet.
So good luck that newspaper in the
Yeah.
next 10 years of surviving in any capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did have a little beef with that. Now, we had some very interesting reader questions.
Okay.
From a friend of mine, Naomi, who's an avid listener.
Shouldn't say that she's your friend. Sounds way cooler if we just say it's a listener question.
Well, she is a good friend. She actually, when I went to London most recently, she put me up in her flat, and she went out many grueling days and shot me moping about various London landmarks for the film Older. So
For our second feature film, Older the Movie.
her camera work is going to be all over that.
Yeah.
So, yes, very good friend. We met sort of 10 years ago when I originally lived in London for the first time. But she's been listening to the podcast and she's been thinking up some fucking good questions.
Okay.
So I'm just going to throw
Hit me.
this one. I'm going to
Yep.
throw this one on you.
All right.
Okay? The science of laughter. Laughing in film. There's a TED Talk explaining laughter and how and why it is contagious. Led me to think about laugh acting and how hard it is to make a fake laugh sound genuine. Went through a couple of movie TV examples to see whether I could feel the difference, which, if any, made me laugh along. Have you experienced that during filming, an actor having to laugh and failing? Harley, as an actor, how do you approach this and do you get it right?
Well, I mean, to be honest, laughing is one of the things that terrifies me when it comes to the acting. You know, when someone says he laughs his ass off, you know,
Yep.
the description says he says a joke and laughs his ass off. I get a little bit concerned because, you can totally pick a fake laugh.
Yep.
So yeah, a little bit frightened of it. As for whether I've succeeded, I can't really think of any examples of me
Of
having
you succeeding?
of me
Of you
laughing.
having to do it?
Yeah, there was one time I had to do it for this film Ghost TV, and it was supposed to be that he tells a joke and then bursts into this sort of massive laughter. And I did it, and I thought I was doing fine. And then the director was like, "No, do less, do less."
Right.
Do less, and then in the end, it ended up basically being like he cracks the joke but does not laugh at it. So either that director was crazy or I was just failing.
So was that in there, that little or you didn't laugh at all, you just said the joke?
I think in the end, I just had to just say the joke but kind of not laugh at it.
Right. Also, if you've heard my laugh on this podcast, you know it's probably not really the greatest laugh to apply to movies.
Yeah.
If you want people to take you seriously. That is one of the hardest things. I think I'd just about prefer to be said he starts crying in a scene than he starts laughing in a scene. I guess the difference there is like crying needs like some work, like a lot of work to sort of get there emotionally, whereas laughing is something that you'd have to play very quickly and just do. I mean, I think the ways around that, I know that we've tried a few different things, like actually telling different jokes to what is scripted to get a laugh out of the person, and that has been relatively successful in certain scenarios. Yeah. I also think, so, that's one way is to actually throw jokes at the person. Yeah. And I think that's quite a good way if it doesn't have to be covered in a two shot, so you're both in the scene at the same time. You obviously can't say a joke then. That is different from the script. I also watched the Pigville episode 2, where we do a bunch of laughing. Actually, I do a bit of laughing in the first one as well. But in the second episode of The Project, I should say, episode 2, which is on our YouTube channel, we are cracking up at the idea that we have to suck the cock of our producer.
That's right,
but that is more kind of fake laughing because we're laughing
awkwardly because we think it's
to make
awkward.
it. So, that's kind of the idea. But there is that scene where I do laugh
at your
heariness, which I think is fine. But I think maybe because I was genuinely amused by like your reaction to it, as we were doing it, and sort of, so I think it's just kind of, I guess you've got to put yourself in that, whatever that mindset is. I think if you're going to try and do anything method, it'll be laughing. Yeah.
Well, all the times that I have had to laugh on camera, I can't comment as to whether or not I've failed or succeeded, but it seems to have gone all right.
Yeah.
And I've always been a bit nervous about it, but then, I don't know, when it came to the crunch and, it was go time, I just laughed,
You just acted.
I just acted.
Like, as is your job.
I think one of my biggest tools for acting, right, is that you take any nerves you have, anything that you're nervous about, and you feel genuinely quite nervous about it, and you're a little bit worried and you're a little bit apprehensive, and then you can release that in any way you want. So it can be crying, or it can be laughing, or whatever. And
Ejaculate.
Or you can yes, ejaculate. Like, some of my best auditions have been ones where I've been very, very nervous,
right,
and then been able to use that sort of nervous energy to sort of channel it into whatever emotion it is that I'm supposed to be doing.
That's really interesting. Like,
a good example is Out of the Blue, which is a movie shot here in just out of Dunedin in Arawana. I auditioned for that film and got a role in it. And I was really nervous about it, and in the role I had to be very scared and worried and all that stuff, and it translated perfectly because I could use my real life jitters to sort of turn it into this on-screen fear.
Yeah,
and it worked. And
we
I got
auditioned for there's one of the few roles we auditioned for the same role.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I didn't know you auditioned for that.
I'm pretty sure we all, like myself, you, and Nick maybe even,
right.
We all auditioned for that role. You got it. But then we're cheated.
By Carl Urban. So what happened was I got this role in Out of the Blue, and in the original script it was supposed to be a whole bunch of minor characters all telling their kind of story, and I was not one of the main minor characters, but I was in a few different scenes, and I was like, cop number 3 kind of thing. So initially it was all these sort of minor characters, all the story being told from all the different angles. But then Carl Urban signed on for the film, and Carl Urban was hot shit, and still is hot shit in Hollywood. And
Judge Dredd.
And at the time he had just done Doom, and and
Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings too. Yeah, I always forget who he is in Lord of the Rings. But
he's a blonde guy. He's one of the writers of Rohan.
Right. Well, in he was Doom though. That was like a lead role in a big Hollywood film.
Yeah.
And so then he signed on for Out of the Blue, and apparently they sort of decided to give him a bit more screen time because he's this big name, and sort of make it follow him a little bit more. And which meant apparently that they cut out some of the more minor characters, such as Cop Number 3.
Well, do you think that's like? Because have you watched it?
No, well, that's the thing.
I have watched it.
I have an issue with watching things that I feel threatened by. I have an issue. I haven't watched Housebound, for example. Right. Because I hear it's very good, and I feel intimidated by it.
Right. Because I have watched it, and I think I see the role that you were meant to play.
Right.
And it's just played by another guy.
You're right.
And what I think happened is they cast you. You were the better person for it, but this guy was closer.
No, because I told them, I'm from Dunedin. I was based in Wellington at the time, and I told them, I'm from Dunedin. I can find my own accommodation down there. And
yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a weird one. You should watch it. It's good.
I guess I should watch it, yeah.
But
But that's what my agent told me was the deal, but whether or not she was just breaking it to me nice.
Yeah, like I see that guy, and I'm like, well, that's Harley's role,
Harley?
isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it definitely is probably smaller in terms of, what he does than was originally intended. But, it's like, did they just get someone that was down there already?
Yeah.
I can't remember if I've seen that guy in other stuff or not. I don't think I have. Could he just grow a better mustache than you? Because that was a key requirement.
Well, no, they didn't check though. That's the thing.
They didn't check your mustache.
No, yeah, they told me to start growing my hair. They got me in. They got they started telling me to start growing my hair, and I did. And then I grew this ridiculous facial hair, and
for months and months.
And the silly hair, I let my receding hairline grow out, and then I just basically stopped hearing from them eventually.
Yeah. Got a bit quiet.
But they didn't come to check my mustache or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting one, because people do also, there's the thing, people do get recast for various reasons. Sometimes it's, is it a matter of, the director going, you know what? Actually, I don't like this guy anymore.
Yeah.
Or not even that, like, you know what? This guy's great, but he just doesn't look quite like the real
Yeah.
guy, or
Yeah.
how I imagined, or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, he's a bit scrawny to be cop number 3.
Yeah, they could, or hairy. It's a bit hairy.
Well, I didn't have my shirt off. Right, so yeah, anyway. On that note,
You want to stop talking about that one? You're like, I'd rather not just go into this right now.
so in conclusion, I like using my nerves to channel it into the acting to do whichever emotion it's supposed to be.
Right, and I don't. I actually feel like when I get nervous is when I start fucking shit up.
Yeah.
I
think it depends. If there's heaps of lines and you're really nervous, then it can definitely be a recipe for disaster.
like any time that I feel like nerves and trepidation, I feel like I do a worse job. Which is a problem for auditions. When I'm nervous
for acting,
every time.
Because because if you get the role as well, it's like, okay, everybody, this is, like there's that moment, right? Everybody has it on set. Everybody has this moment at some point, but more so with the actors. There's that moment where the entire production stops.
Yep.
And waits for you to do your job, whatever it is, and there might be literally hundreds of people all there at that moment, particularly for an actor, standing there quietly waiting for you to do your job. And so when that happens, if you get a bout of the nerves, and you start flapping your lines, it can become a real problem. And then it becomes sort of a feedback circuit there where because you fuck up the line once, you fuck it up the next time, you start overthinking it,
Yeah, you develop a mini complex for that particular bit of the thing. And I think, part of the director's job, definitely one of the biggest parts of the director's job, is to make the actor feel as comfortable and as casual as possible. So you're like, you don't want to come in and go, this is the big scene now, mate.
Yeah.
We need you to really nail this, because if you don't nail it, you're really fucking us.
Yeah.
What you want to do is be like, hey, mate, how's it going? So we're just going to try this, we're going to try that, just have fun with it, just enjoy yourself and do what you do when we know you're going to be amazing. Like, what you just never want to put the actor in this position where they feel the weight of all those things as heavily as you can if you sort of actually think too deeply about it.
Yeah.
So how were you on the zombie film in terms of your nerves?
I actually recall being pretty calm and collected.
Yeah, making all these fart jokes behind the scenes. I think you're pretty relaxed, actually, and flirting with the extras.
Flirting with the extras.
Like, you seem like the most relaxed person I've ever seen on set, judging by the behind-the-scenes stuff I've taken a look at.
Guy's been
chowing down on lollies.
Your guy's been looking through the behind-the-scenes footage lately, and he noticed that his experience of the shoot of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust and my experience of the shoot of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust were very, very different.
Yeah.
There I was, like, just, meandering about, shaking hands, cracking little jokes.
Yeah, jokes all over the place.
Making dumb jokes for the behind-the-scenes camera, and hitting on the extras. Which, let's be honest, guys, you don't get to be the lead character in a film pretty much ever. Like, a lot of actors, 90% of actors will go through their lives without ever being
the main guy.
The main guy in a feature film, right?
On top of the poster.
Yeah.
The marquee.
So I had to make hay while the sun shone. I had to enjoy it while I could, guys.
You revel in it.
So I did. And I recall being like quite cool, calm and collected. But part of it, though, in all honesty, was because you were directing and I was comfortable with you. We had rehearsed the scenes. I knew what was required of me, so I felt comfortable in my position on set, and I knew that everything I was doing, I felt like I was capable of doing.
Did you ever consider the idea that, like, you could be fired after a day or something like that?
Nah, not really. I guess it just never really occurred to me that they might just this is not working, give me the heave ho.
Right.
But I think it was because I just had this supreme confidence, which saw me through,
Yeah, well, I was very confident in your abilities, but my experience on set was the complete opposite of that. I was constantly under like a state of anxiety and duress. It was, miserable. There was disasters every 5 seconds, and it was just like things going wrong, and like, all right, that's completely fucked, is it? Oh, okay, well, I'll
try
just
something
I
else.
will check it out. Basically, I guess we'll just have to try and shoot around that calamity that has befallen this particular scene, like every other one today. And so it was panic stations, panic mode, and like I'm a very calm individual for the most part, and I don't think that was particularly visible while we were filming it, but that weight was very heavy on my shoulders, and all the way through, really, because you just want to do a good job, and it was a very tricky shoot.
Yeah, well,
just a tricky shoot.
As a first-time feature film director, before this, the biggest thing Guy had shot was like nothing, like a YouTube fucking skit.
We actually had a joke about that too. Like there was different teams that had been nominated for this, to receive this, so that they basically narrowed it down to 12 teams.
Yeah, from hundreds of applicant teams,
and in one of the 12 teams was the editor of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So we, Harley, myself, and Mike Newport, the composer, we were joking that you had one team, the editor of the Lord of the Rings, on the another team, the editor and director of the Lord of the Rings gay parody skits on YouTube.
The Lord of the Rings gay Hobbit parodies.
That's where your choice is there.
Yeah.
They went with the gay Hobbit guy.
Yeah, well, thank God.
It was a tricky one, but like that's the thing is like I was never concerned in the sense of like, oh, can I do this job? I was never worried in that regard. Like I was always like, I can do this job. I've been doing low budget stuff for 10 years. And like I've also been, and not just shooting it, I've been editing it. I'm like very involved in all of these things. And now I have a team. So this in theory should be actually easier than the things that we've done. But because I have a team to help me and assist me through this, and I can rely on all these exceptionally talented people to do these things that normally I would have to try and think about. So actually I have less to think about. But, you're talking about something on a certain scale with a certain budget, and also, I think the real difficulty is we were trying to make, a multi-million-dollar film for $250,000.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with that kind of gap, that disparity, and trying to navigate that every day and in every scene and in every shot was what made it so difficult.
Yeah, well, I don't really know how he did it with all the... It definitely seems like you definitely sort of stepped up to it and, achieved what you were aiming to do, because, I was thinking, geez, I'd hate to be the one there right in the centre, like making all these decisions, like...
I'd hate to be that guy.
The DP comes up and he's like, okay, what are we shooting now and how are we going to do this? And, obviously he handles how the lights are going to look.
Yep.
But, if you decide you want to shoot it one way and then realise you've made the wrong decision...
Which is very easy to do.
And you've got to reset the lights and change everything around and pause the production, and all that weighs on sort of your decisions, which means that every little thing that you do is under scrutiny, because, it can lead to big delays if you make, one minor wrong decision can lead to some big problems. And then on top of that, at the end of the day, it has to look good.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, the product itself needs to be good. Not only does the film need to get finished on time and on budget, but it needs to actually look good at the end of it. I didn't envy that position.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously that's the job. That's the job description. But I think,
But as a 27-year-old that had only before this never really worked with a crew, not really. Like, we had friends and people helping us, but before the zombie film, we hadn't really shot anything with a proper, full-on professional crew.
I guess so.
In hindsight, it's pretty amazing that they gave us the money.
Yeah. Well, look, I think, but, at some point, every director has to take that evolutionary step up, because essentially when you're in film school, you're going to be doing that thing where you're working with your mates and you're doing the student film, you're doing it that sort of DIY way. And then when, at some point, we're all going to come onto that set with that crew, and, how do we deal with that? I mean, I think for me, and this is one of the best advice I could give to any director is preparation, man. It's all about the prep, for instance, how we're going to choose the shots and stuff. Well, we had the DOP and I had this incredibly detailed plan, and we discussed, from every angle in terms of thematically, what is the tone of the scene? How do we want to achieve that through how we shoot it? And then we had that plan, and then if that plan didn't work or things sort of started going south, we could then sort of course correct. But if we didn't have that preparation, that's how you run into problems. It's just showing up to set and going, all right, what are we doing today? Which is what I did sometimes for Older.
Yeah.
But only because I wanted to do it that way as well. And also with Older, I had the confidence. I'd already done a film, and I'd done this incredibly difficult film. So when I came on to Older, I had a different set of concerns because also I was acting in it. So I wanted to do that well, as that was very important. But I also knew it's like, man, I could compare it to like the zombie film. I was like, this is the most difficult thing to do that you've done in your life till this point. And that whenever you're directing again, it's probably not going to be this difficult, this level of complication, because, you'd likely have more resources or not doing something as ambitious. And it was the same thing. I remember my first day on set as a true runner in real life.
Over in London.
And it was the worst day I've ever had as just a day, just everything being thrown at me like this 19-year-old kid, and they're like, you need to do this, this is due to the bank for funding of this film, you have to look at every page of this contract to understand, because if one page is missing, they won't give us, £3 million, and this is your job. First guy, the guy we don't know.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got to answer the phone every 2 seconds, and you've got to take calls, you've got to transfer calls. You don't know how to do that? Well, you just learn,
Yeah.
And they just threw all this stuff at me all at once, and it was so overwhelming, and I was just like, oh my fucking God. But after I did that day, I was like, I never ever was really particularly nervous whenever I went into a new job again, because I was like, it cannot be worse than that first day.
Yeah.
And so it was that same kind of thing with the zombie film. I'm like, I'm never particularly worried or stressed when we get onto set, because it's like, it can't be worse than shooting that film.
Yeah. Yeah.
But be prepared, people. Be prepared. That's my advice.
I was a bit nervous about, there was a couple of scenes that had to be a bit emotional that I was a little bit nervous about, but then by the time it actually came time to shoot them, it was 4 a.m, 4:30 a.m, and I guess I just kind of got into a stage where I was beyond being nervous.
You were not giving a fuck stage.
Yeah, well, basically, but that that worked as well, because I was no longer nervous. I just did it.
Well, okay. So this is another topic from Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've mentioned babies and dating in 2 separate podcasts.
And some not dating babies.
And babies, on the internet and on Facebook. And she says, I've been thinking a lot recently about how different it would be now growing up online. We say and do a bunch of stupid things as teenagers. I certainly did.
Yeah.
But it's kind of okay because nothing was ever documented and got forgotten over time. Now every thought, mistake, conquest is out there for the world to see. Mm-hmm. This terrifies me, and to be honest, is almost enough to convince me not to have children. Almost. What do you guys think? How do you think these social networking sites will develop and change over time and affect the way the next generations are moulded? Harley Neville.
Jeez, thanks for the warning.
Told you they were good questions.
Yeah, well, I'm 100% on board there. I sort of think about how lucky I am. I feel very lucky that all of the emotional crap that was running through my brain when I was a teenager, luckily it had nowhere to go. Yeah. It didn't end up online, and it didn't end up, going viral. And I was never tempted to take a picture of my willy and post it to a girl and then have it go around the school. Like I feel for teenagers nowadays, because a mistake made is not just made once and on the day and then people laugh even for months. You might get a nickname. Back in our day, you'd get a nickname.
Funny stories about
you'd have a nickname. Yeah, when our friend Nick had sex with a girl
Yep.
at a party, and and he had the condom on, and then when he came, he was drunk, and when he came out of the bedroom, he still had the condom on, and his dick had bent up underneath his belt and was poking out the top of his belt, and he was walking around the party like, you know, poking out the top of his pants with a condom on it.
He still had the condom on, which still bemuses me to this day.
Well, because he didn't come. But yeah,
Right.
why would you not? Why would you? You'd think he'd take it off.
He just wasn't thinking.
I guess he was just really drunk.
He was just really drunk.
But so anyway, that led to us mocking him mercilessly for months or possibly even occasionally bringing it up years later.
Yep.
We're talking about it now on the podcast.
Yep.
For crying out loud, we're 32. But it wasn't documented. Now, if that was done today, that would be on the internet instantly.
And like as a meme.
People would take a picture of him chatting to someone with his dick out, and that would instantly
Or
be
dancing, 'cause
on
I think he was dancing
He was
as well.
dancing with his willy out. And so that would instantly be online, and it would be online forever, and it'd be on Facebook. Your friends and family would see it. They'd tag you in the picture. Like, it must be...
Tag you, your friends.
You would tag you in the picture. They would. Kids are cruel, man. So it must be very difficult to be a teenager nowadays.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yes, I think, it is actually a real issue, because also, even I look back at old emails that I used to write to people, and I go, who is this fucking dick face?
Yeah.
And what the hell is he talking about? Like, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
Like, what is mentally wrong with this person that was me?
Yeah.
And you see that, and you just go, oh my God, like, this stuff would have fully been on my Facebook or whatever, like these thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's a real problem, and I think it's a real problem with what social media has done, and even in the way that we, look for validation through it, as opposed to from your actual friends, like in real life. The meaningfulness of interaction from person to person has been diminished, because you can have interaction with 40 people all at once, and that wasn't how it used to be. And I do exactly worry for those those nicks out there who have done, because that's the thing, it's like we all do things, really embarrassing things. You can't help it, you're a teenager. Stupid shit's gonna happen. I mean, there's that classic
where you had tried to have sex with a girl on the trampoline couldn't get it up.
I tried to have sex with a girl on a trampoline, couldn't get it up. Came down to the thing, and everyone, like, there was like a group, like it was a party situation. It was like a group situation, and it was just like, what happened? Everyone thought, we would have had sex. It would have been like high fives all around sort of thing. And I was just like, no, man, I couldn't handle the jandal. And everyone was like, what? And it was just
spread like wildfire throughout the party.
And it did, and because that was the thing, and like at that time, like she was like, I wouldn't have told anyone, but she would have told. She would have told. So we were friends, and her friends would have told her friends. So it would have got out either way. So I was just like, might as well just come clean with it. And that
honesty's the best policy.
that incident haunted me.
Because after that, people would sing, can't get it up, no.
to me, or like not to me, but I'd hear about it, and also like there's the stigma as can't get it up guy, can't get it up Pigden, which couldn't be further from the truth.
I've got a boner right now.
Just in terms of real problems for me at that age. But I remember like the next day after it happened, like I just walked in to like my art class.
And everyone stopped and looked.
Basically, well, that's what I felt. Like, that's exactly how I felt. I was just like, my God, my life is over. Like, I was literally in my head, I was like, my life is over.
I might as well just throw myself off a bridge.
I might as well just fucking kill myself. And I literally had that thought. I was like, well, I'm never going to live this down. My reputation is ruined. People are laughing and joking behind my back, which they were.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
some of your best friends.
When you say people were singing that, well, you were singing that.
No, some girls were singing that. I think it was
some girls were singing it.
Lisa.
And her mates.
Yeah.
And also, I heard a story.
My ex-girlfriend.
I heard a story about how, like, you know, like my next girlfriend, like was basically like, yeah, I'm going out with a guy now, and they're like, well, you know, we can't get it up, right? You know, and she's
you're
like,
so brave to deal with his impotence. You're so brave.
And it was, you know, and like at that time, like I thought, you know, I really was on the verge of suicide, right? Okay, so, you know, looking back, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But also, you know, that's the kid, that's the teenage mind.
Yeah.
And if that had been all over the internet,
Yeah.
like some memes like, you know, not hard enough, bro. And
Yeah.
like then people like posting that on my page and sending that
It's got
to
a
me.
picture of you, and it's like, it's like, oh, you know, you're upset about something or other, and then it has a picture of you that it says, harden up, bro.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I think that like that would have been so overwhelming had social media been around, and also like, you know, it spread around, but it would have spread even way
Yeah.
further. Like, you know, we would have gone down.
Other schools would have been talking about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And so. So, you know, I think it is a real problem for kids, and I think the best way to combat it, switch off, man.
Yeah, that's like abstinence. That's like saying the best way to battle teen pregnancy, abstinence.
Fuck, man, I switch off of Facebook. I got no problems with it. The only reason I'm on
Yeah.
Facebook is to promote my shit.
Yeah, but these kids aren't. These kids, if you aren't on Facebook in this day and age, you're a bit of a social leper. You know, like, it's particularly, I think, in high school, you know, everyone's talking
Well,
about stuff
but I
that
hear
happened
people-
last night online. You know, people were...
online. I'm hearing that like Facebook is the old man's.
Okay, but maybe not Facebook. It doesn't matter which one it is. It could be whatever the new one is they're using.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like pick
You know.
your social media. Like Facebook is a real bad one. Like pick your social media. Like Snapchat, for example.
Yeah.
That's a much harder to, you know, kind of. It's not so interconnected that, you know, like you're interacting with one person at a time, and it's, you know.
Well, that's not true. Snapchat, you send it out to everyone.
I don't know how Snapchat works.
Yeah, you don't even have it. Fucking old fart, you fucking old motherfucker. You know, I'm on the Snapchat, and yeah, I never send out any snaps, but like basically people send out group Snapchats
Right.
all the time, and I get them.
Oh, really?
And it's like essentially you just take a picture and you select everyone on your list, I think, and you send it out, and everyone
Right.
gets it. So it's kind of a way of like
Oh God,
promotion.
those dick pics! What have I done?
Yeah. so yeah.
Oh, that's how Snapchat
Snapchat
works.
works,
Oh, I made a horrible mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. Now all four of your Snapchat connections have seen your willy.
Yeah. So, but there's the thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like
Well, you know what I think is going to be the real answer.
You got to get out of it, man.
It's not Guy Pigden's abstinence answer
didn't
to
say
social
become a
media.
virgin.
Your social media abstinence.
use email.
Email.
You know, maybe
you write them a letter.
Tinder
You write
and-
each other letters. No, look. What is going to happen,
Viber.
and I'm sure what's already happening, is that basically these kids are getting smarter. You know, so you and I, we didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
This generation of teenagers that are coming through now, you know, and a couple of years prior, these ones are sort of learning the hard lessons of, you know, this shit is on the internet forever, yada, yada, yada. But I think in a few years, you know, the kids are going to be a lot smarter about it. They're going to understand more how the internet really works. They're going to understand that sort of permanence of their posts and all that stuff. And as a result, they will be a lot smarter about it. Now, obviously, there will still be some disasters here and there, and there'll still be online bullying where people take a picture of you with your willy out at a party, and you know you can't avoid it. But I think that it will lead to people being a bit smarter, basically. As for the future
Yeah.
of these things, wow, I've got no idea. But it's only going to get worse. It's, you know, like it's only going to become more prevalent. You know, like social media is not going away
No, it's not going
anytime.
away.
You know, it is here to stay.
Unplug,
And
man. I'm telling you.
It's going to become. It's going to become more, you know, ubiquitous. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be involved in everything you do.
Yeah. Well, there's a new film actually coming out called Unfriended, which basically takes place entirely on a computer screen.
Yep.
With people like group Skyping, basically, or group messaging. And then, you know, like a haunted ghost of someone that was cyberbullied comes into it.
Ooh.
And starts terrorizing. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
But they did say that like it potentially could be dated within like a year just because of the nature of social media.
Yeah.
However, it is a great idea, and I guess that is kind of what they're touching on a little bit. Like, that is thematically what they're looking at. Because apparently this ghost was, cyberbullied and killed herself, and now was sort of terrorizing all these people.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool idea. Coincidentally drops May 22nd on the same day as our
film. Yeah.
So I would suggest a double bill.
Yeah.
Or seeing ours first.
Yes.
And illegally downloading that one.
Yes.
If you're going to do one of the two.
Yes. Pay for our one.
Yeah.
The other night,
yes,
I went to Palm Springs Hot Pools. Mm-hmm. I've just got a little bone to pick.
Okay.
I went to the Palm Springs Hot Pools. Now, these are a top secret, super awesome set of hot pools out at
Are they top secret? Just because
the
they're
name
not
of it.
well advertised?
Yeah, so basically it's these little hot pools an hour or so north of Auckland. And, there's like a big fancy sort of gentrified version, which is where all the tourists go. Mm. But there are these other ones that you can go along, and they're sort of really old fashioned. It's looked like they used to be like the height of luxury in the 50s,
yep.
and then have just sort of been left to slowly sort of decay. But the hot pools themselves are still really lovely. The water's amazing, and it's very cheap to get in, and only
the water's fine,
and only the locals really sort of know about it. I only got told about it through locals. I never heard about it in any other way. And what really made it really special though is that you go out there, and it feels like you're sort of stepping through a time machine and going back to the 50s a little bit, and you get to buy beers and drink them in the pools, and they don't care, which is a rarity in this day and age, to be able to have like glass in the pool. There's some obvious reasons why that's not a good idea.
Yep.
And yet, they were cool with it, and even just selling the booze was, like just selling booze to people to go swimming. That in itself,
is somewhat irresponsible.
And I thought it was great. It's like, man, there's too much risk management nowadays. Like, Jesus, let us, if I fall over, I'm not going to sue the place. I'm going to go, geez, I got a bit drunk. And that's the way it should be. And so yeah, they had this great setup out there. And I've been out a bunch of times. Whenever people come from out of town, I like to take them out there and show them that, because I feel like that's a kind of a cool random adventure to go on. But I went there the other week, and
who did you go with?
I took Angie and my little brother Connor, because my little brother was up for the week.
Yeah.
So we went out there, and so anyway.
Romantic three-way.
A romantic sibling three-way.
And your girlfriend. Continue.
And so anyway, he's like 15.
I'll tell you what, it'd be Christmas come early for him, man.
Well, seeing Angie in a bikini.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I took him swimming with Angie another time as well. So
he would be peaking on that shit.
Fucking boner central. I had to lend him a pair of togs as well.
You had to lend him 3 pairs of togs to keep his boner down.
Yeah, man. It's like I gave him a piece of string to tie it to his leg, And so anyway, I went out to these friggin' hot pools, right?
Yeah.
And they've sold them, and that's okay. But the new owners have, really spruced it up. It doesn't feel as decayed and old, and that's still okay. It's nice. It's cool.
So this has just happened recently.
This has happened reasonably recently, yeah. But here's where the big issue comes in: is they no longer sell the beers. And I was like, well, that's a long way to drive for no beers in the pools, because that at the end of the day was what it was all about.
Yeah.
And there's other hot pools around. Yeah. And so I said, what's the story? I said, now listen here.
Listen to me.
What's this no beers situation? And the owner told me that what happened was some lady from the council had come out and ordered some beers and had a really lovely night in the hot pools and had a lot of fun. And then the next day she went into work and made some inquiries, and it turned out that they didn't have a liquor license and shut that shit down. And so after having a lovely night, she shut it down. Couldn't turn a blind eye. You dirty whore. You dirty, filthy whore. Like... unacceptable, way to ruin the fun for everybody else.
Yeah, that is bad. That is awful. I mean, that's the thing is, like, that's the this thing is like, it's like you had an amazing time.
Yeah.
And, you've been treated great. So shit on everyone else because of that.
Yeah.
Like, literally use your fun to ruin other people's because it's part of your actual job.
Yeah, well, a person
Your
that
so-called
takes
job.
a person that takes that type of job, they fit a certain description. I feel I would be terrible in that job because I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
what's the big problem, guys?
Yeah, I'd be like, so we're going to loosen these laws on the bears in the pool. Should we introduce shots? What's the story? So yeah, it takes a certain type of person, and that is the pedants. And well,
there's no room for them in this new world.
Break my heart.
Well, no, that is a little bit disappointing. Now, there is just there's another little piece of information I wanted to glean from you, where it says, lost a role to a drawing.
Right, this is my notes just here. Lost a role to a drawing. So what happened was I was going to be in the Static Era music video. What happened was I was sitting at home enjoying my day off, and I was actually very comfortable at home, and I got a message from Emma G. Mm-hmm. Emma G. She's the lead singer of a band called Static Era.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, our actor's fallen out at the last minute. We need someone to play like a lawyer in sort of a courtroom kind of scene. Do you want to do it? Are you on board?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm on board."
And you were like, "It's time for the nevs to shine."
Exactly. I was like, I will stand up and sacrifice this day off at the last minute to go and act in this thing and save the day. And she was very happy.
You have been referring to yourself in the third person recently, by the way. You have been calling yourself the nevs quite often.
Only in the podcast, I think.
No. You've definitely been calling yourself the nevs in like conversations we've had.
Well, who doesn't do that? Who doesn't do that?
Yeah, well, a classic Seinfeld. But anyway, so you got the role.
So I got the role.
Nev's got the role.
The Nevs stood up and saved the day, and she was very happy.
Yep.
And it was all on. It was all happening, and I was starting to organise some things, and I was going to have to shave and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then it turned out that they decided to change it. The director decided to change it to a drawing of a lawyer,
right?
As if it was like a sort of a courtroom drawing, that type of thing. So they no longer needed an actor. But basically, I got wrote out and lost a role to a drawing. Yeah,
to do a drawing of a person as opposed to the person.
Yeah. And the drawing didn't even look like me. So
you should have provided. You've got a drawing of you've got a couple of drawings of yourself that you could have used.
I should have been like, yeah, guys, we use this one. But so that's what happened there.
So this is the daily struggle for actors.
Yeah,
man. Just one day you could be up, you could be flying high, and then we're going to use a drawing instead of you.
Well, speaking of which, this weekend is the 48-hour Film Fest, which is an annual festival where you shoot, and edit a film in 48 hours over the weekend.
Yep.
Now, if you're listening to this on Sunday, then the film festival is actually still going. People are still editing. And I have been cast. We're recording this before the shoot, obviously. I have been cast.
Probably you won't be replaced by a drawing. You're hoping.
Yeah, hopefully not. I've been cast in a Sideways Productions film, and I'm quite excited because those guys have got a good rep and a good sort of body of work behind them.
Yeah.
And that's pretty exciting, and it sounds like they've got a really good plan and a very small cast, and that's good for me. That means
you know what that means?
More
won't get rid of that.
Yeah, more airtime for the Nebs. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, well, just one more topic.
Okay.
From Naomi here. She says there have been many breakthroughs in filmmaking. Which do you think has been the most important to date, and what do you think still needs to be addressed and overcome?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so I think in my lifetime, the most important thing that's happened has been the
visual effects,
CG, basically the introduction of
that was the first thing that came to me.
Computer generated effects. Now, it's certainly adversely affected a lot of films to a degree because it becomes about those instead of the films. And obviously, if you don't have a tool, then you're relying on your other tools, such as story and character and those sorts of things. So,
and now you got all these Transformers and all these movies which
now you got
relying on
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, you're relying on explosions,
Yeah.
CGI explosions of CGI robots.
So it has certainly become as much of a hindrance as a sort of, technological development. But I would go a little bit more and say it's actually the ability to sort of paint things out, basically, and replace things. So, for instance, the zombie film, as it exists now, could never have been made in the same way that it was. Like, essentially, we would have had to reshoot so many bits that we didn't reshoot.
Yeah.
We just added or augmented a little bit to make work.
Yeah.
And like, that was the thing, is like, there used to be, in the 80s, even early 90s, there was a time where basically whatever you saw in the frame had to stay in the frame. You had no choice. So whatever you shot, that was it. You could sometimes layer in more things, but you couldn't just take things out, like a person or a cloud that you didn't like or a background. It was just not possible. And I think that has been the greatest thing in terms of development, just simply because of the freedom that allows you.
Yeah.
And how you can sort of save shots. You can save a scene or a shot through doing that. So I think that has been the most important up until now. What about yourself?
I would say that it's the digital distribution of films.
Oh, good one.
Like this whole idea that not only that they can be distributed digitally, but they can now be shot digitally as well. Film is no longer really used, or if you're using it, it's because you're doing it for the novelty.
Yep.
It's no longer required. It's opened up so many doors for so many other filmmakers to get involved, and this digital revolution has meant that people such as ourselves, who didn't have any money when we started, and still don't have any money,
can make things of a standard,
of a high quality,
seems that we did
exactly. So I would say that's been sort of one of the the biggest breakthroughs is sort of the digitization of the entire process, from sort of shooting right through to distribution. And I'd say that the thing that needs to be addressed and overcome, obviously, is that alongside this digitization of the entire industry has come the piracy. And now, so what we've opened the door to a lot more people to create content, but we've taken away the way for these people to make any money out of that content.
Yes.
And so now we're in this interesting kind of quagmire where us creatives are making films, you viewers are watching them, but nobody's making any money.
And no one's paying.
Nobody's paying, and nobody's making any money. And, we as creators, what's going to happen here? Realistically, I don't think that we're ever going to beat piracy. I think that what will happen is that filmmaking will turn into a thing much the same as painting, where you paint because you love it.
Oh my god!
You make these paintings, and the best paintings or the best artists, or
still make money.
They still make money, and everybody else doesn't, and they just
do it for the love.
Do it for the love, and I think that's basically what's happening now with filmmaking.
Yeah.
And like everyone's making stuff, and the best stuff was rising to the top, or the lucky stuff is rising to the top, and that's just the way it is now.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I agree with you. The thing that needs to be overcome, obviously, is piracy. And that's the thing, is like everything, like the fact that everything's gotten cheaper. Like the fact that you can make something of a high quality with a much lower budget has kind of offset the piracy, but it's only temporarily offset it. And in fact, I was reading an article the other day which basically was talking about the horror genre, which is what we're dealing in right now with I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. And they were talking about from sort of 2010, like before 2010, if you made a genre film, you could simply rely on the genre fans and DVD sales to make money. So, like, if you made something of a sort of decent quality, no matter what, you would make money. You would make money from good genre films. It's just as simple as that. And now that is not the case at all.
Yeah.
And now, essentially what they were saying is like, you don't just become the filmmaker. you do become the film distributor, and you have to understand that. You have to understand how your film is getting out there to everyone, and how you can provide it to people in a way that they can at least pay something for it, and you can make something from it. And that is a real difficulty. And like we talked about the troll hole last week, where someone was like, basically like, your film fucking sucks and I'm going to steal it. Once upon a time they could have just said, oh, your film fucking sucks. And it's like, well, good, mate, but if you want to like take that further, you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, your film fucking sucks, I'm going to steal it. And they could even go, your film fucking sucks, I'm going to steal it, and then I'm going to torrent it to make it free for everyone else because I think it sucks.
Yeah.
And there's a huge problem, because at the end of the day, films are always going to take a certain amount of time to be made and require a certain level of skill. And those things aren't acquired overnight. They're not temporary things. They're not things that can just be done. They have to be mastered. They have to be learned. And because they have to be learned and mastered, if there's no value to skills, then that makes it very hard for those people that choose to specialize in that to sort of progress, or to, pay for their food at the supermarket on a weekly basis.
Yeah, well, that actually works out. That ties in quite nicely, because that was actually John Wilson's
film distribution
topic for this week.
Yeah.
So that's his viewer or listener question. He said, or listener topic was film distribution. So there you go. We've covered it, John.
Yeah, because I mean, part of it is just making it as easy as possible for people that are a bit more honest and upstanding, or believe in the value of films, to be able to get your film.
I'm a little bit concerned that it's the end of big budget filmmaking, because as piracy takes its toll, there's just less and less ways to make money from a film. Our film was $250,000, and I sort of harbor no illusions. I don't necessarily, I sincerely hope that it turns a profit. I think it could. I think it could easily make several $1 million. But it easily couldn't as well. And if it didn't make $250,000 back, I'd be very disappointed. But I guess I wouldn't be 100% surprised.
I wouldn't be. Same for me. And certainly, I was always calculating that this is a film that looks like $1 million film. It should be able to make $1 million from all its sales everywhere in the world, and all its revenue streams, basically. However, as piracy has become more and more prolific, and this film that was shot in 2011 is coming out in 2015, I'm now much more kind of trying to come to terms with the idea that it might not, it won't make that, and it won't make even back its budget, which is alarming and insane if you consider the amount of work that was put into it,
and the
man hours,
And the concern there is that if a film can't make back $250,000, then
that looks like if $1 million film that can't make back $250,000,
then obviously the the risk of creating a $300 million film is a lot higher, because you're going to say, well, shit, with piracy out there, can we really make back $300 million?
But in saying that, the people that are safest at the moment are those $300 million films.
Yeah.
Because essentially what is happening is people are still going to the movies, and they're still going to the movies for a specific type of film, like your Avengers Age of Ultron and stuff.
I hate those fucking films,
and
man.
So those kind of films, those theatrical events are still theatrical events. Those films will get pirated, and they will make less money than they did, 10 or 20 years ago for sure, but they'll still make a lot of money. And you can sort of count on that, knowing that the films, people will be showing up to the theaters. The problem is, for people that are just starting out like us, who are making these low budget films, and then they don't have these big theatrical releases or those sort of campaigns that suggest that you were to get people to know about them. So they're only relying on their DVD and online and a little bit of cinema, but the DVD market is now shrunken to nothing, and the online is being pirated the shit out of, and then suddenly there goes your market.
Yeah.
So that, I certainly agree. We need to work away. It's not going to be overcome as such. We need to work out ways to effectively provide it for people, so that the people that really like the film can pay for it.
Yeah.
And not be hamstrung by release dates, and it's out in the UK and I can pirate it right now, but it's not out here in New Zealand, and I want to see it right now, so I'm just going to pirate it. You got to, so it's got to be day and date releases and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like piracy hits films worse than it hits music as well, because music, like I've pirated music in the past, but then as a result of finding a band that I liked, like Enter Shikari is an example.
Okay.
The very first albums of theirs I heard had been illegally downloaded.
Yep.
But then as a result of listening to it and having heard of it, via piracy, I then went out and I bought an EP and an LP of theirs.
And you went to one of their shows too, right?
And I went to one of their shows, and I bought one of their tops.
Yep.
And
a poster or something?
Nah, just a top.
Did I take a top? Yep.
But I also, I've also championed them online a whole bunch, and I've also,
oh yeah,
I've played them on our radio show that we used to do.
Yep.
And then there was one other thing I did for them as well, which was... I've strictly listened to them on like Spotify, which they get paid for, and I've watched all their YouTube videos and shit like that, right? And so that's where, sort of, as a result of the piracy of at the beginning of their albums, I've then gone on to become a actual contributor to their success. Whereas with a film, once the film's out, and you've pirated it,
that's it.
That's it, really. That's kind of it. There's no show. There's no live show you can go to. No. And
that and it really is completely it, because. Yeah, that is the huge difference, because you go see so you pirated that movie, that's done. You're not repaying back for that movie.
No.
And then going further on to that is like filmmakers don't have the same kind of fan base or fan following that musicians do.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So you go, oh well, they'll pay for the next one. No, the chances are you won't even know
that it's from the same film.
Yeah, that I made the next.
So
one.
here's the answer, mate. You and I need to package ourselves. Here's what we need to do. We need to package ourselves as a band, right?
Yep.
But we're filmmakers,
Right.
So there's pictures of you and me standing around in a gritty alleyway with graffiti.
Black and white.
Looking cool,
Black and white.
And there's some, we put out T-shirts, right? But the T-shirts aren't just like pictures of our movies or, something dumb like that. It's like, like we're creating the brand Pigville as if a musician would, as a musician would do it,
Right. Yeah.
And try that type of online marketing where we're saying like, we're the cool rock stars of New Zealand filmmaking, we're these cool, super cool guys. We're not like nerds, we're not like poor 32-year-old nerds. We're like fucking badasses,
Right,
Look, we've got tattoos and shit,
Show some tattoos, get out the wife beater.
Yeah, exactly. So that might be the angle that we need to do in order to get that following, where people say, oh, this is the Pigville film, let's check out I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Oh, that was good. Okay, and it's the Pigville brand. Okay, let's check out Older.
Yeah.
Let's check out the YouTube channel.
It's the PB. Or the PV.
PV, get it right.
It's the PV boys. PV.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing right now with this podcast. Which we should now bring to a close.
Yes.
But, so if you want to combat this thing, hey, support, share.
Yep, May 22nd, the film comes out and you can pre-order it right now. You can go and pre-order I Survived a Zombie Holocaust on DVD on the JB Hi-Fi website if you're in Australia, the Mighty Ape website if you're in New Zealand, and all that information is on the I Survived a Zombie Holocaust Facebook page. So go there right now, Control-T, new tab, and...
Facebook.com/ISAZH. ISAZH. And also, if you're in Wellington or Auckland, you can now pre-order tickets to the film in the cinema.
And if you're in Auckland, there's only a limited amount of seats available for the big opening night Q&A with the cast and crew, meet and greet and all that stuff, red carpet, media, all that stuff. It's all happening. So if you want a ticket, if you want to be there, get on and order it.
Yeah. Make sure you do, because there's a very limited amount, and they're going fast. I know 20 are gone already, so I can tell you that right now. And I think there's only 100.
Yeah.
So if you want to get into that premiere at Auckland, get into it, because this is coming out on Sunday, and we're going to be announcing the thing on Thursday. So if we're going to be announcing it tonight, but this podcast you'll be listening to
tonight's Friday, but
on Sunday. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening. Grandma, I love you. You're amazing. At 81, You are the most lively, vibrant person I know, and I can only hope that I reach anywhere close to your age and that I'm so cool at that age.
And to Angie's parents, dad and family that are listening.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Just know that 99% of what I say is tongue-in-cheek. So I'm actually much sweeter in real life, you know. I'm actually a nice guy. Don't judge me by my online persona.
Know me before you judge me online.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.